Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Glad to have you back. I know you're here because you want the inside scoop on Snowflake, ticker symbol SNOW. We've been poring over analyst reports, news articles, you name it, and trust me, there's a lot to cover.
It's definitely a company that's been making headlines, especially with all the buzz around AI and data cloud services these days.
Right. Speaking of headlines, let's start with Snowflake's stock performance. It closed at $160.32 on January 3rd, 2025, up 2.81% for the day. But it wasn't exactly a smooth ride. The price swung between $158.80 and $160.98 throughout the day.
Yeah, that's some interesting volatility, especially since it comes after a month of pretty steady gains. My thinking is it probably has something to do with their recent earnings report. There were some surprises in there, to say the least.
Okay, so let's get into those earnings. Snowflake released their Q3 FY 2025 report back in November, and their revenue came in at $942 million.
That's a 28% jump year over year. Product revenue alone hit $900 million, a 29% increase. And they even went ahead and raised their full-year revenue guidance to $3.43 billion. They're definitely expecting big things.
So tons of growth, which is always a good sign. But then there's this. They reported a loss of $1.98 per share, which is more than analysts were predicting.
That's where things get a little intriguing. Analysts have actually increased their loss projections for the year ahead, even while they've bumped up their revenue estimates. And here's the kicker. They've also raised their price target for Snowflake to $176, even with those bigger losses on the horizon.
Wait a minute, why would they raise the price target if they're forecasting even bigger losses? That doesn't seem to add up.
It's all about the long game. It seems like analysts are betting on Snowflake's dominance in the data cloud space. Especially with all this hype around AI, they seem to believe that Snowflake is making the right moves now to set themselves up for massive rewards down the road.
So they're not just watching the AI wave from the shore, they're diving right in.
Exactly. They're actively developing AI solutions and weaving them into their products. That's what's driving this confidence, even with the current losses.
Okay, that makes sense. But let's step back for a second and look at the bigger picture. How does Snowflake fit into the current market landscape?
Well, the market is starting 2025 on a high note. It's building on a really strong 2024. The Nasdaq Q gained 29% last year, and the S&P 500 rose 23%. Tech stocks were definitely leading the charge.
So overall, it's been a good time for tech. But can we expect that to continue?
Analysts seem to think so. They're predicting that tech will keep outperforming the rest of the market, though maybe at a slightly slower pace. And within the tech sector, Snowflake seems to be in a sweet spot. Even if their revenue growth slows a bit, they're still expected to outperform the industry average.
Okay, that's promising. But let's talk about something that might have some investors feeling a little uneasy. That recent stock sale by Snowflake director Frank Slootman. He sold 100,000 shares on December 30th, 2024.
Yeah, that kind of move can definitely raise eyebrows. But let's keep things in perspective. Insider sales are pretty common. It's often just a way for executives to diversify their portfolios. It doesn't necessarily mean that Slootman is losing faith in Snowflake.
So not a red flag, but definitely something to keep an eye on. All right, let's get down to brass tacks and look at some of the technical indicators. What can the charts tell us about Snowflake stock?
Well, let's start with the 50-day simple moving average, or SMA. It's currently at $148.13. The 200-day SMA is sitting at $138.10. The good news is Snowflake's current price is higher than both of those, which suggests a bullish trend in both the medium and long term.
Okay, so those are positive signs, but are there any warning signs investors should be aware of?
Well, the 14-day Relative Strength Index, or RSI, is at 35.04, which is getting pretty close to what we call oversold territory. An RSI below 30 usually indicates that a stock's price has fallen too far too fast. It could be a sign that a rebound is coming.
So a potential buying opportunity for those who are brave enough to ride the waves?
Maybe. There's also the MSD. That stands for Moving Average Convergence Divergence, and it's currently positive. This suggests that in the short term, the stock has some bullish momentum.
So we've got a mixed bag of signals here. Some are flashing by while others are whispering caution. What should a savvy investor be watching for in the coming days and weeks?
Keep a close eye on the trading volume. Snowflake's average volume is around 6,533,382 shares. But on January 3rd, it was only 221,979. That's a significant drop.
So does that low volume mean anything?
It could be a sign that investors are a bit hesitant at this price point. They might be waiting for more clarity on the company's direction before they jump in.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Snowflake's recent stock volatility, their intriguing earnings, the overall market landscape that insider stock sale, and a bunch of technical signals. But before we move on, let's take a minute to distill all of this information into some key takeaways.
Definitely. First, volatility can create some great buying opportunities. Snowflake's price has been bouncing around a bit, and it's currently not far from its yearly low of $107.13. If you believe in their long-term potential, this could be a good entry point.
It's all about finding those diamonds in the rough, right?
Exactly. Second takeaway, Snowflake is in a prime position to benefit from the cloud migration boom. More and more companies are moving their data and operations to the cloud. And Snowflake's data cloud platform is a key player in this transition.
And their consumption-based model is a big advantage. They only charge customers for the resources they actually use.
Absolutely. It makes their platform really appealing for businesses of all sizes. And lastly, most analysts remain optimistic about Snowflake. They're predicting strong revenue growth for the next few years, even with a projected slowdown.
That's good to hear. But it's important to remember that even with all these positive signs, there are no guarantees in the stock market. Short-term volatility is pretty much inevitable, so it's essential to have a long-term perspective.
Couldn't agree more. Patience is key when it comes to investing, especially in a fast-paced sector like tech.
All right, so we've given you a good overview of Snowflake. But as always, it's crucial to do your own research before making any investment decisions. We're here to equip you with the knowledge and insights you need, but we can't make those decisions for you.
We're your guides, not your financial advisors.
Exactly. Now, before we move on, I have a question for you to ponder as we head into the next part of this episode.
Ooh, I love a good cliffhanger. Hit me with it.
Given Snowflake's huge potential in the AI space, but also those current losses, is this a stock for the patient investor or one to watch from the sidelines for now?
That's a tough one. It really depends on your investment style and how much risk you're comfortable with.
That's the beauty of the stock market, right? There's no one-size-fits-all answer.
It's what keeps things interesting and keeps us coming back for more.
Well said. We'll be back soon with part 2, where we'll continue our exploration of Snowflake. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast.
Before we went to our break, we were talking about Snowflake's potential role in the AI boom. But before we get back into that, let's take a closer look at some of those technical signals we started to unpack.
Great idea. We touched on the moving averages and the RSI, but there's more to the story. For example, Snowflake stock is currently trading near the upper Bollinger Band.
Okay, for those who might not be familiar with Bollinger Bands, can you give us a quick explanation?
Of course. Think of Bollinger Bands as a way to visualize how much a stock's price is swinging up and down. You've got 3 lines, a middle line, which is a simple moving average, and then upper and lower bands. These bands are calculated based on the stock's standard deviation, which basically measures how spread out the price movements are.
So when the stock is near the upper band, what does that tell us?
It could mean a couple of things. It might suggest that the stock is overbought, meaning the price has gone up too quickly in a short amount of time. That could mean a correction or a drop in price might be coming.
Right.
But hold on, it's not always a bad sign. Trading near the upper band can also mean there's strong upward momentum and the price might continue climbing.
So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. How can we tell which way it's going to go?
That's where things get tricky and why you don't want to rely on just one indicator. We have to look at other factors like overall market trends and news about the company to get the full picture. Technical analysis is just one piece of the puzzle.
Right, it's like putting together clues to solve a mystery.
Exactly. Now, in addition to the Bollinger Bands, remember that MACD we talked about earlier? That stands for Moving Average Convergence Divergence, and it measures momentum. A positive MACD, like we're seeing with Snowflake, usually means things are looking bullish.
So that lines up with the fact that the stock price is above both the 50-day and 200-day moving averages. We're seeing those bullish signs popping up again.
We are. But even with those positive signals, it's always wise to be cautious. The market is full of surprises, and no indicator is perfect.
Well said. It's all about managing risk and making informed decisions based on all the information you can gather.
I think that's a good place to transition back to the bigger picture. We talked about the overall market optimism and tech stocks doing well in 2024, but what are the big trends shaping the tech world as we move further into 2025?
That's a great question. One of the most significant trends we're seeing is the continued rise of cloud computing. As more and more companies embrace digital transformation, they're looking to the cloud for data storage running applications and streamlining operations.
And that puts Snowflake right in the sweet spot with their data cloud platform?
Exactly. They're perfectly positioned to capitalize on this cloud boom. And it's not just about traditional cloud services anymore. We're also seeing a rapid rise in the adoption of artificial intelligence and machine learning.
AI is definitely the hot topic right now. It feels like it's everywhere you turn.
And for good reason. AI has the potential to revolutionize so many industries, from healthcare and finance to transportation and manufacturing. And we know Snowflake is already making waves in the AI space. You mentioned earlier that analysts see Snowflake as a potential AI winner. What makes them think that?
Well, their data cloud platform provides a really strong and scalable foundation for AI workloads. AI algorithms need massive amounts of data to be trained and to operate effectively, and Snowflake can handle those huge data volumes with ease.
So it's like a one-stop shop for developing and deploying AI.
You got it. And they're not just providing the infrastructure, they're actively developing AI-powered solutions and integrating them into their platform.
Can you give us some examples of how Snowflake is using AI to enhance their offerings?
Absolutely. One example is their use of AI for data governance and security. They've developed AI algorithms that can automatically detect and classify sensitive data, which helps companies comply with privacy regulations and protect their valuable information.
That's a big deal. Data security is a major concern for businesses of all sizes these days.
It definitely is. And another area where Snowflake is leveraging AI is in data analytics. They're using AI to automate data preparation and analysis tasks, which makes it much easier for businesses to get insights from their data.
So they're not just helping companies store data, they're helping them actually use it to make smarter decisions.
Exactly. And they're also using AI to personalize customer experiences. By analyzing customer data, Snowflake can help businesses tailor their marketing campaigns, recommend products, and create better customer service interactions based on individual preferences.
That's like the holy grail of marketing, being able to deliver the right message to the right person at the right time.
Exactly. So you can see that Snowflake is deeply embedded in the AI world. They're providing the infrastructure or the tools and the solutions that businesses need to harness the power of AI.
It sounds like they're really ahead of the curve. But let's be realistic. There are other players in the data cloud and AI space. How does Snowflake stack up against the competition?
That's a great question. Snowflake definitely has some tough competition from those big tech giants like Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. They all have their own cloud platforms and AI offerings.
So it's David versus Goliath.
In a way, yes. But Snowflake has a few key advantages that make them stand out. First, their platform is designed specifically for data warehousing and analytics, which gives them a specialized focus that some of the bigger cloud providers lack.
So they're not trying to be everything to everyone. They're focused on doing one thing really well.
Exactly. And second, Snowflake's platform is built on a modern cloud-native architecture, which makes it highly scalable, performant, and cost-effective.
Those are all critical factors in the cloud world.
They are. And lastly, Snowflake has a strong partner ecosystem, which means they can integrate their platform with a wide range of other tools and services.
They're playing nicely with others in the sandbox.
Exactly. They understand that collaboration is key in the constantly evolving tech landscape.
It sounds like Snowflake is in a strong position to compete even against those tech giants.
They are, but it's important to remember that the tech world is always changing. New technologies emerge, new competitors appear, and what customers need is constantly evolving.
So even though they're doing well right now, Snowflake can't rest on their laurels.
Not at all. They need to keep innovating, adapting, and looking ahead to the next big thing.
It's a never-ending race in the tech world.
That's true, but that's also what makes it so exciting and dynamic.
Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. We're wrapping up our look at Snowflake, ticker symbol SNOW. We've gone through their recent performance, and earnings explored their role in the AI revolution and sized up their competition. But before we let you go, we need to talk about what's next for Snowflake. What's their plan for continued growth and success?
That's the key question, right? Because even though they're doing well now, they can't just sit back and relax. The tech world moves fast, and they need to stay ahead of the game.
Absolutely. From what we've gathered, their growth strategy seems to be focused on a few key areas. First, they're laser-focused on expanding their customer base. They're going after those big enterprises. But we're also seeing smaller and medium-sized businesses adopting their platform.
That makes perfect sense. A diverse customer base is essential for growth, and the cloud makes it possible for companies of all sizes to get on board.
Exactly. Second, they're putting a lot of energy into product innovation. They're always adding new features and capabilities to their platform, which makes it even more powerful and attractive to customers.
We talked about their AI initiatives earlier. That seems to be a major area of focus for them.
It definitely is. They see AI as a key way to differentiate themselves, and they're investing heavily in developing AI-powered solutions that solve real-world business problems.
And their third area of focus is building a strong partner ecosystem. They're working with big tech companies, consulting firms, and system integrators to make their platform more accessible and integrated into the wider business world.
It's like they're creating a win-win situation for everyone. By working with other companies, they can reach more customers, expand into new markets, and offer a more complete package.
Exactly. It's a smart strategy. Now let's talk about their financial outlook. What are analysts saying about Snowflake's future earnings potential?
Well, as we touched on before, the general sentiment is positive.
Mm.
Even with those recent losses, analysts are predicting solid revenue growth over the next few years. They see Snowflake as a major player in that high-growth data cloud market, and they believe the company is well-positioned to benefit from the ongoing digital transformation and the AI boom.
That's good news. But as always, we need to remember that projections are just that, projections. Things could turn out differently, and there are always risks and challenges to consider.
Right. No investment comes without risks. What are some of the things that could impact Snowflake's success in the future?
Well, one thing to watch is the competition. As we talked about, Snowflake is going up against some of the biggest tech companies in the world, like Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. Those companies have huge resources and a long track record of innovation, so they're not going to go down without a fight.
It's that David versus Goliath situation again. But as we discussed, Snowflake has some advantages that could help them hold their own.
Absolutely. Another thing to think about is the pace of cloud adoption. While cloud computing is definitely a trend, not every company is ready to jump on board yet. Snowflake's success depends on continued strong growth in the cloud market.
And that growth isn't guaranteed. The tech world is always changing, and there's always the possibility that new technologies could emerge that disrupt cloud computing as we know it.
That's a good point. And then there's the question of profitability. We know Snowflake is currently running at a loss, and it's not clear when they'll become consistently profitable.
Investors tend to be patient with high-growth tech companies,
Mhm.
but at some point they'll want to see those losses turn into profits.
Exactly. And finally, we can't forget about the broader economic climate. If the global economy slows down or we head into a recession, that could put a damper on Snowflake's growth. Companies tend to cut back on their IT spending during tough times, and that could hurt Snowflake's revenue.
So there are definitely some bumps in the road ahead for Snowflake, but there are also a lot of opportunities for continued growth.
Exactly. It's a dynamic and exciting company operating in a rapidly evolving industry.
Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground in this three-part look at Snowflake. We've gone through their financials, their technology, their growth strategy, and their competitive landscape.
We've explored their strengths, their weaknesses, their opportunities, and their threats.
We've given you a comprehensive overview of this fascinating company, but ultimately it's up to you to decide if Snowflake is the right investment for you. Do your own research, consider your personal investment goals and your risk tolerance, and then make an informed decision.
We're here to give you the information you need, but we can't tell you what to do. The stock market is a complex and unpredictable beast, and there's no magic formula for success.
That's right. But hopefully, this episode has given you the knowledge and insight you need to navigate the world of Snowflake and make smart investment choices.
That's what we're here for, to help you become more confident and informed investors.
And on that note, we're going to wrap up this episode of Investing Talk podcast. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the world of Snowflake.
It's been a pleasure.
Don't forget to subscribe to the show, share this episode with your friends, and leave us a comment with your thoughts on Snowflake's future. We love hearing from our listeners.
Until next time, happy investing.